Cedar City, Utah bills itself as an historic town, surrounded by breathtaking canyons. Early pioneers worked this red soil to mine iron. Here, at the entrance to the city park, stands a bronze statue, another important nod to history. One of the most important journalists of the 20th century that most Americans have simply never heard of, Helen Foster Snow, a fact her family readily admits.
I would say Helen is the best kept secret between U.S.-China relations. She really showed the example of what it means to be a bridge between our two countries.
Helen arrived in Shanghai in 1931 to work at the U.S. consulate as a secretary. It was a time Westerners were pampered and lived a high life while in China.
As she started seeing the suffering and noticed the political upheaval that was going on, she realized that she had a much bigger part to play, and she wanted to tell that story to the world. And that's when she met Edgar Snow.
A hardened, experienced international journalist, Edgar Snow wrote one of the definitive books chronicling the start and growth of China's communist movement, called Red Star Over China. It was a time of great upheaval as factions wrestled for control of China. Japanese invaders, the Kuomintang Nationalist Party, and the fledgling Communist Party under Mao Zedong.
She stopped thinking about herself, and she really found her voice in telling the stories of other people. And that's what her life was dedicated to for the next 80 years.
By now, Helen and Edgar were married and lived in Beijing. And in 1937, Helen cemented her place in history when she risked her life to travel from Beijing to Yan'an in Shanxi province to meet and interview Chinese Communist Party leaders such as Mao Zedong and Zhu De.
Helen Snow was one of the few eyewitnesses to the early period of the communist movement, one of the early Western observers, and had been in Yan'an.
Her stories were published in newspapers throughout the world under the pen name of Nim Wales. By now, the Fosters say, the Japanese wanted both Edgar and Helen assassinated, so they returned to the United States. Helen bringing a treasure trove of manuscripts, items, and nearly 11,000 photographs she took while in China.
This is just a very small sampling of those 10,000 or 11,000 images.
In terms of history, just priceless. A young Mao next to Zhu De. And this rich collection was donated to Brigham Young University and is just now being preserved and chronicled. After returning home, Ellen and Edgar drifted apart, eventually divorcing. Living quietly in a small Connecticut town in the northeastern part of the U.S. until she died at the age of 89 in 1997. But ask the Fosters, who have grown to embrace and love China, considering the sour relations between Beijing and Washington, they believe the world needs another Helen Foster Snow.
That's my favorite question. I think I get emotional about this. Everything I thought I knew about China was false. And then when I went to China and met the people and their hospitality and their personality and just who they are, I realized they're just like me.
Adam Foster created a foundation to keep Helen's work and memory alive, and to help develop better people-to-people ties between China and the U.S. He hopes when one day people ask, "Have you ever heard of Helen Foster Snow?" the answer will be, of course. What an amazing woman and an amazing story. Sean Caleb, CGTN, Salt Lake City, Utah.